It's November 21st, 2021. I was just sitting and having dinner with Lewis and Linda. And Lewis says to me, he's speaking to a man from Stanford. And he says, I was speaking to a theist. And I'm like, Also, I waited for him to finish. I was like, Lewis, what's the difference between a theist or theist? I was like, because sometimes the human, when it speaks of atheist like it's this evil, rotten, sadistic, twisted thing you gotta kill. But then if you take a pause and you just say theist, it's indicative of one person speaking at the moment of some theological importance, and now all of a sudden the context and the conjecture, the whole thing changes. So, and then it would be indicative of monotheistic. So then I was like, that's an interesting point, Liz. Thank you for that. Whatever morsel of thought. Then he said, then he starts going into his human. He's like, because he uses these words in like a pinwheel circle, but they don't really. I'm like, it's hard for me to speak to you, Lou. I was like, can I? And I even asked him, I said, because he put up Nucci and himself as Brother Claus and as Nooch, or Cat Scratch, whatever. And I'm like, could we do like you in your baby boomer speaking on the same topic as me on Next Gen? You tell me how you think it is, and then I will just speak on how I know it to be. I was like, and we can record it just so I have proof of how different our processing is of the same type of information. And he won't do it with me. I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. Thanks, Lou. So that happened. So he said something about, he's going on about intent and willingness. And I'm like, like, what do you mean by intent and willing? Like, what do you mean by intent and what do you mean by willingness, Lou? Because, and he's like, well, in the nature of the universe. And I'm like, well, but here's the creation of the Big Bang creation. I'm like, okay, but here's the thing. At Big Bang creation, there may have been something attending, creating something with intent that it intended, and then it went into intender. And I'm like, well, but that changes things because now there's a course action value associated with the thing that you intended is now intender. So there's a value associated with it. I was like, so that's a big leap in. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, do you not know that when people speak of tender, it's usually about currency or some form of money, bribery, like bartering, whatever. I was like, and then I was like, so there's some like attending, let's call it like if there's an attending physician in the cosmos or whatever at the creation of the universe that then cosmically wove the first human into some form of existence. But it itself did not need to be of human relation. It had an intent for this intender to do something of value and with some purpose in mind. And he was just like, that's my whole point, is that I lose him because he wants to be, he's like, come, Nikki, he goes, sit with me, let's be philosophical. And I go, Lewis, here's the thing. I was like, when I'm philosophical, sometimes there's pallbearers involved. So I gotta be really careful how you and I go about speaking on this stuff. So I was like, go ahead, what do you got? So, like, I'd use him as something to chew on for, like, chewing the fat, like, to try to, like, push myself beyond a barrier. But I know I have limitations because of what's transpired. And I was thinking about it. I was like, my grandfather was not a born slave of North America. He was an indentured servant of America, but that would mean that he was in debt and service to someone or something greater than himself. And an antecedent, an antecedent, an indescendant relationship to the ancestors, if he was already serving my debt to society because of what happened in an orthodox manner, because of human limitations, let's call it, I don't understand how between his 100 and more than that years of debt paid to society being in North America, but from elsewhere, and then his son also coming over, because my grandfather had to secure employment before Italy would let his servitude move. So he brought his wife and his son, his two stepdaughters, whatever, and then they came here. But he was still indebted servant of whatever it was to protect his. He would be the antecedent, and then I would be the descendant. So he already paid some debt in service wise, as is I had another situation, but that's a lineage and heritage. So that's why I'm really confused how I got saddled with a life full of, I mean, I am cosmic and star, cosmos and astro important. I don't understand how this whole entire life frame got twisted and shifted so bad when there was a pre-existing situation that was already dangerous that I was then brought into somehow. If you have an inverted vortex system, almost like Eye of the Storm, it is the N in my name. It's a cone and it's a V put together in one symbol is what an N is. So that already shows the antecedent and descendant relationship. But again, I know it's deep and it's a little heady, but it's just where I've always been. I just don't have a partner to actually enjoy spending any time with or conversating with. So I just hold my tongue normally in public or in around people, and I definitely don't get into this level of anything because I don't hear humans speaking this way ever. Star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. And it's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken.